All right, you've heard it said that Lowell Weicker was one of a kind. Thank goodness, more than one would have been exhausting. But more like Lowell Weicker, we'd be much better off. You've heard it said that he was bigger than life, highly opinionated, a loner. Let's unpack that a minute. He was bigger than life, 6'8". Big laugh, big heart. But for a guy who grew up in Park Avenue and moved to Greenwich, he also had a big view of the world, not narrow but big. And he loved to challenge convention every day, and we're better for it. Opinionated? Yep, absolutely. Inverse of that maybe is also highly principled. He was 100% certain that he was absolutely right 100% of the time. He usually was. And you know what? When he wasn't, he was willing to change his mind. A loner? That's absolutely wrong. He loved people. You've heard that from his family. He loved to go out as a young man. He even running for first selectman. What a glorious day. And then he'd confront, he'd push, he'd prod, he'd compassion, he'd hope. And then rinse and repeat. Do that all day long. Like most politicians, he loved the back and forth and give and take of politics, no question about it. Like them all, he loved to win. But unlike most politicians, he wasn't afraid to lose. And that gave him a certain liberating courage. He had a Teddy Roosevelt fearlessness to me. He was always ready to charge up his San Juan Hill for whatever that just cause was, and he was sure it was absolutely just. He was certain, as you heard Scott say, about things big and small. He was certain that was the best tennis shot ever hit, or that is one ugliest sweater I've ever seen. But he was also sure and clear that Watergate was wrong, and he came to the conclusion that the income tax was right. I get it. That can be incredibly exhausting in a family. It can be exhausting, as Chris Dodd may say, in the cloakroom of the Senate chambers. But when it came to governor, he was the right man at the right time to take on a state that was in a world of hurt. Many of you maybe knew his campaign consigliere, Tom DeMore. And Tom said, I think he got it right, Lowell would have been a lousy governor during really good times. But he ran for governor because it was tough times. The house was on fire, the Connecticut House, and he was a first responder. And he rose to that occasion. You heard Stan say, look, back 1990, it was tough. It was recession. It was layoffs. It was pessimism. Here in the state of Connecticut, the biggest deficit per capita in the country. And, Lowell looked at it, didn't think much of the income tax. Then he looked at all the other options, couldn't find a realistic alternative, and he did what he thought he had to do. And he supported the income tax. Man, that kicked over a hornet's nest, as you remember. There were 40,000 people protesting like heck outside. They hung him in effigy. Security details said, Governor, I think maybe we ought to go into the Capitol through the back door. He said, no, Lowell Weicker does not go in through the back door. He walked right through that crowd. He was a big target. And look, I know he's always depicted as this big bear who loves to get out of the cave and roar. But I also knew him, sometimes as a teddy bear. I think maybe some of you knew that as well. Soon after that, protest, we were talking. He said, Ned, everybody knows about the income tax, but they don't know I also had to, make the biggest cuts in the budget in history. Talk about tough choices. And then he missed it up, but he said, I also had to cut spending for folks with special needs, and that was a personal calling for me. Then he sort of said, and now, my friends, as if he's talking to a crowd, as if I have any friends. But that said, he went on to win the JFK Profile and Courage Award, well-deserved. Time magazine said he's the gutsiest governor in America. I think that was all true as well. He didn't care that much. He just said, I look forward. I'm in the future business. You know, it was just been a couple of years earlier that he had been defeated for the U.S. Senate. And there he was, a man without a party, held liberated again. There he was, a former U.S. senator, collecting signatures out in front of shopping centers. It's a glorious day. Please sign my petition. Where are you going? It's still light out. The stores are closed. Let's go to the Dunkin' Donuts. They never close. Well, that July he presented those petitions, oversubscribed, to about in front of 300 people. And he said, famously, I've heard it said that Lowell Weicker is a loner. I have a lot of friends. He has a lot of friends right here. And he held up petitions. I have 105,431 friends, people on my side. And then he continued. I got to read this to get it right. He said, somebody has sold this country on the fact that politics should be a dirty business and our kids don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And I want you to look them straight in the eye. 10-foot pole. Listen, I hope nothing better for each of your children that he or she be a congressman, a senator, a president, governor. Go ahead, use that power to create something good and wonderful. And like each and every one of you, he said, I have a jury every time I go home. And he reached out to Claudia, and he reached out to the boys, and he said, I want to be able to look them straight in the eye. I don't want to just say that I love you, but I hope that I've behaved in a way that you love and respect. All right, so towards the end, we used to get together an old line with Claudia and Stan, Dick Palmer, and Chris Dodd, Tom Dutchik, always leading the way, regaling us with stories that we had heard many a time before. And Lowell just used to sit back and chuckle about a life well led. Tom just told me that this is the last Lowell event he gets to staff. And a little bit later there, I heard that Lowell had passed, and I called up Claudia, and I said, what happened, Claudia? She said, oh, you know Lowell, he never likes to linger. Look out, heaven, here he comes.